Hello, this is Jumbo Commander, and I have a new deck tech with Samut, Voice of Dissent. Samut, Voice of Dissent, is a Naya commander. Her casting cost is 3 red-green, but she has a white activated ability. Samut is a legendary human warrior and a 3/4 with a bunch of abilities. Flash, Double Strike, Vigilance, and Haste. Also, other creatures you control have haste, and that activated ability I mentioned is white, tap to untap another target creature. I think Samut would make a great aggressive commander. Giving your whole team haste is very powerful, and Samut herself is a very strong, aggressive creature. Double Strike is amazing. Vigilance is not to be scoffed at as well, and that untap ability can be particularly powerful. I did underestimate the untap ability. I thought of things like Godsire, this put an 8/8 onto the battlefield, and I wasn't as impressed. I was like, I don't need extra 8/8s. But then I realized that there's a lot more synergy with the untap ability on Samut than I thought, making Samut a much more flexible aggro commander than I really anticipated. So let's see what direction I took Samut. I decided to go human tribal, because the human tribe is a very aggressive tribe, and it really matches with the theme that I felt Samut really had. And Samut is definitely a great commander for this tribe, because she's so threatening on her own. Samut has Double Strike, so if you combine her with something simple like the other human Bastion Protector, she becomes a 5/6 flash, Double Strike, indestructible, vigilance, haste, other creatures have haste, untap another creature. It's a bevy of keywords. Or you can also go Voltron by putting another human Godo Bandit Warlord onto the battlefield, fetching up a crazy equipment, making Samut even more dangerous. You know, humans are really small, so I think a good strategy might be to go wide, with cards like Thraben Doomsayer creating humans or increasing devotion, throwing a lot of humans onto the board. Sigarda Heron's Grace gives our humans and ourselves, being human, hexproof, and then also creates more human soldiers, very nice, and Handwear Militia will flip really easily to Westvale Cult Leader and pump out more and more humans. Now we need to make these 1/1 humans relevant, so how about Kamal Fist of Krosa giving them overrun ability, or Perforos pumping them? Or we could even go simple, really low to the ground aggro with Hamlet Captain, Limited All-Star, or Heron's Grace Champion flashing in and giving them the relevant +1/+1 and lifelink, or Mayor of Everbrook just pumping your team. There's a lot of ways we can go wide. A few more could permanently pump our team, like Juniper Order Ranger, Mikaeus the Lunarch, and Thalia's Lieutenant. Let's get our humans through with Riders of Gavany, a human that gives all your humans protection from a creature type. Or Champion of Lamphold. As we play more and more creatures, he gets bigger and your guys get harder to block. Or the brand new Combat Celebrant that gives an extra attack phase, and Samut's ability works very well with the new Exert mechanic, allowing you to untap again. If we're going to be entering into combat, let's get an advantage with both Audrix. The Master Tactician will let us set up blocks however we choose, and the Lunarch Marshal will just give every single creature all of the keywords. I mean, for gosh sakes, Samut has so many great keywords. Just imagine giving your whole team Double Strike and Vigilance. Oh, it's amazing. And not to mention, there are lots of great humans that have really great combat abilities, like Frontline Medic, making your team indestructible, or Archetype of Courage, giving everyone first strike. Humans are pretty small creatures, which means you have to invest a lot of them onto the battlefield before you really see huge advantages as they start synergizing together. So because we have to commit so much, we have to pay extra close attention to card draw. Mentor of the Meek lets us maintain forward momentum. As we play more creatures, we can draw more creatures to play. One of my favorite cards, Ranger of Eos. It's the white Muldrifter, guys. Okay, let me explain how great this card is. 3 and a white for a 3/2, and you can search your library for up to 2 creature cards with a converted mana cost 1 or less. Reveal them, put them into your hand, and if you do, shuffle your library. So you do get 2 1-drops, and you might be thinking, great, how many 1-drops do I really have in my commander deck? Trust me, you have a lot. And by the way, you're forgetting 0-drops, so you can get your hangerback walkers and your walking ballistas, but the 1-drops in these colors are astounding. Let's talk about the aggro 1-drops. Champion of the Parish, Sarah Ascendant, Grim Lavamancer, the Macias the Lunarch that we already mentioned. You could even get Baby Kithian. I mean, come on. We can even talk about what can protect our cards at 1-drop level. Mother of Runes is a classic, well worth an inclusion. Devoted Caretaker is an excellent corner case. Sylvan Safekeeper keeps your stuff safe at the cost of a land. There's also a ton of mana dorks, like Magus the Candelabra, not an ordinary mana dork, Avacyn's Pilgrim, Diligent Farmhand, and one of my favorites, Weathered Wayfarer. And I forgot to mention, all of these 1-drops are humans. They all synergize together. And there's so many more. So please, don't look down at the 1-drops and go get a Ranger of Eos. But there's more card advantage to be had. How about the human wizard Magus of the Wheel? You can trade him in for a whole new grip. Not to mention Humble Defector, a great card, and I really love the card draw in red, but I had to include Humble Defector because you have some great synergy with some of the sacrifice outlets we might run, like Ashnod's Altar, where we can activate Humble Defector, sacrifice him, still drawing the cards. But my favorite combo happens with Samut herself. You can activate Humble Defector. In response, untap Humble Defector with Samut and then draw 2 more cards. You'll draw a total of 4 cards before Humble Defector defects to your opponent. And by the way, I've had Humble Defector passed back and forth between someone that's not doing so hot and myself over and over and over again. I think it's a really underrated political card in Commander, so you should definitely play it. And you should definitely draw 4 cards when your opponent only draws 2. That's a great strategy too. Humble Defector made me think of another great synergy with Samut, and that's Mingara of Corndor. Now, this card is just a great removal spell that happens to be a human, but you can combine him with a sacrifice outlet to get him into your graveyard instead. The classic move is to activate Mingara and then Karakas him back to your hand so that you can play him again and exile something else. Ugh. Luckily, Karakas is not allowed in Commander for obvious reasons, but Samut does something very similar, where you can activate Mingara, Samut to untap, and then activate again. Yes, in this case, your Mingara will be exiled, but you get 2 for the price of 1. And he's just a human. These are all humans. This is great. I also thought of another sort of hero of this deck, the Intrepid hero. Killing something and then Samut can untap him to kill something else. Or even Magus of the Disc. I love this. Magus of the Disc can be instantly discified. I'm sure that's the verb. With Samut, because he comes in tapped and obviously has summoning sickness, but Samut gives him haste and can untap him to wipe the board. This is a really cool human-based board wipe. Now, I'm not saying we want a lot of board wipes in this deck, because we're going to be throwing humans onto the battlefield, but it's kind of nice and flavorful to have one. Also, in the same vein of things, Devote Chaplain can kill artifacts and enchantments just by tapping humans. Not to mention, Samut can untap the Chaplain to kill another artifact or enchantment. This is a little bit of a weak area for the deck. We don't have a lot of disruption. So if you're playing in a meta where you need to disrupt some people, you might want to run those Croson Grips and Swords to Plowshares and all of those spells, because there aren't enough humans to sort of make sure you don't get screwed over by artifacts and enchantments. Let's talk about some of the mana ramp that humans offer us, specifically ones that synergize well with Samut. Somberwild Sage and Shaman of Forgotten Ways tap for 3. And then, if you throw 1 more mana into the mix, you can untap them with Samut and then get 6 mana out of them. Really powerful and explosive plays to get a lot of creatures onto the battlefield. There are a few more humans that tap for mana, specifically the druids, these druids, clerics and stuff. Krosan Restore, Juniper Order Druid, Ley Druid, and Magus of the Candelabra all have interesting synergies of untapping lands. So if you have lands that tap for more than 1 mana, these guys are pretty good because they can tap for 2, sometimes even 3, and then Samut can really gain even more advantage by untapping them. It's an interesting strategy, but I have seen other decks that take far more advantage of this synergy. So I think I'm just going to go with a few classic humans, like a few that just tap for mana, like Avacyn's Pilgrim or Channel or Initiate. Maybe a few that help me make my land drops, like Azusa Lost But Seeking and Yavimaya Elder. Or maybe a few that just ramp straight onto the battlefield, like Diligent Farmhand and Knight of the White Orchid. All of them humans, all of them really solid. Another strategy I'm really excited about is Knight of the Reliquary. Knight is just a really powerful card, and it lets us sort of fix our mana, ramp our mana a little bit, especially if we have those lands that tap for more than 1 mana. But I also like the ability to get something like Gavany Township or Kessig Wolfrun. Gavany Township will go crazy if we've gone wide with humans, and Kessig Wolfrun will make Samut just insane. So the ability to have a human that gets these specialty lands is really valuable for me. Now that we're dealing with some lands, how about Tireless Tracker, a human that gets us card advantage with lands, Magus of the Library, which could just tap for a colorless, but if we ever get to 7 cards and get to activate Magus, it's so good. And also Hermit Druid. He could just dump a bunch of cards into our graveyard and get us the land we need. Now we don't have any crazy combos with Hermit Druid, but that doesn't mean we don't have any crazy combos in this deck. Sometimes humans just aren't big enough. They just can't aggro the game to a close. So maybe we'll do a little bit of combo action with humans. I remember a deck that revolved around Angel of Glory's Rise, and it was so much fun to play. And I want to recreate that for you right now. Okay, so if you get an Angel of Glory's Rise, not only do you just go crazy getting all of your humans back onto the battlefield, which is great, by the way, but also you have the possibility for a really great combo with a card like Fiend Hunter. So Fiend Hunter can exile Angel of Glory's Rise. Then you have another card like Goblin Bombardment. You sacrifice the Fiend Hunter, and then suddenly Angel of Glory's Rise poofs back into existence, bringing the Fiend Hunter back, where you exile Angel of Glory's Rise, and then you sacrifice to Goblin Bombardment again, creating a loop, dealing 1 damage every time, and a bunch of ETB abilities for all of your humans. Maybe you can sacrifice more things. Maybe you have a Perforos on the battlefield. I don't know. But it's a very interesting and cool combo, and these are cards we want in our deck anyways, which is like mind-blowing to me, that we can just have a combo that we already want in our deck. It seems like whenever people throw combos in their decks, they're like straining to fit this like 10 card package that doesn't really synergize with anything else. And there are other cards that work with this too. One of my favorites is Safi, Eric's daughter. Safi is pretty spectacular and has a few combos of her own. One of the important things that you might need with a lot of these combos is Sack Outlet. I mentioned Goblin Bombardment, but Altar of Dementia, Ashnod's Altar, Blasting Station, and that Goblin Bombardment I mentioned are all very powerful synergies. But let's talk a little bit about Safi, because Safi is great and works with a ton of different cards. But also, Safi is a human that can be fetched by so many different cards in this deck. How about Recruiter of the Guard getting Safi? Thalia's Lancers, Captain Sisay. By the way, Captain Sisay can activate and Samut can untap Captain Sisay to activate again. Oh, if you have all the monies, you can get an Imperial Recruiter and get Safi. Or Yisan can put a verse counter, get one of those 1-drops that we have so many of, and then get Safi. It's endless. And by the way, Samut can untap Yisan so you can tap him again and move up for more and more verse counters. And the Thalia's Lancers can get the Yisan. I mean, it's crazy. I'm not a huge fan of tutors, but when all of these tutors kind of like work together and synergize so well and they're all humans, I think it's just great. I mean, I can also imagine like a Hermit Druid dumping all of these into the graveyard and then somehow you bring them all back with recursion and then just go crazy, getting tons of value. I love it. And that's kind of the way this Safi Eric's Daughter combo works, is through recursion, because Safi can sacrifice herself to bring something that dies back into play. And so if you combine it with a card like Sun Titan, you sacrifice Safi, Sun Titan gets this cool ability, then you can sacrifice the Sun Titan, whoop, he has that ability, you bring him back, and then he brings back the Safi. The same thing can happen with a Revelark, a Karmic Guide, a Renegade Rallier, a Loyal Retainers, and some of these combos work really well with each other too. I mean, a Sun Titan could get back your Renegade Rallier and that gets back Safi. Or you have your Fiend Hunter and your Sun Titan. Fiend Hunter covers up Sun Titan, and then you sacrifice the Fiend Hunter, Sun Titan enters the battlefield, and you get back Fiend Hunter to do it all over again. We know how Revelark and Karmic Guide go crazy with each other. I mean, there's so many different sort of weaving combos that have to do with the graveyard and value, and I know that there are a few non-humans on this page. Sun Titan's a giant, the Revelark's an elemental, we also have an angel spirit, but there's still a lot of humans in this sort of strategy. I like it a lot. But do you know what else? I'm gonna throw one more interesting synergy into this deck, and that's Meld. Now I know, I've already thrown in like an aggro package, a combo package, but trust me, Meld fits even better. Bruna the Fading Light. When you cast Bruna the Fading Light, you may return target angel or human creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. That's like our whole deck. We could get that Angel of Glory's Rise back and just start going crazy. We could get a Karmic Guide back, or we could get Gisela the Broken Blade back and make Brisella Voice of Nightmares, which is just fun. I have not put Brisella together yet, and I really want to, and I think this is the deck that can do it. One thing that makes Bruna a little bit weaker is it says when you cast Bruna, so it means that Bruna can't be a combo piece with all the ones I previously mentioned, but it's still good, it's still worth it. But moving on to another Meld mechanic, Hanweir Battlements and Hanweir Garrison. Hanweir Garrison creates humans and is a human, it's perfect. I'd love him in this deck anyways. And Hanweir Battlements gives haste, even though our commander already gives haste. Okay, but you can put them together into the Writhing Township and have an awesome trampling Eldrazi ooze horrible tower thing. I don't even know what that is, but I want to attack with it. That has been Samut, Voice of Dissent, and I gotta tell you, I'm in love with this commander. It's because she's so versatile. She can be a Voltron commander, be super threatening with the double strike out of nowhere. She can be a little bit of a combo synergy commander with that crazy untap ability. But also, she's an excellent leader of the humans, and the humans work so well together. They come together to make really interesting combos, or they come together to make a horrifying town and crazy ass Eldrazi angel. So I'm really excited to see how all these cards fit together to really make an aggro combo, compelling, interesting adjective deck. I want to thank you all for watching. My name is Jumbo Commander and I make deck techs and other videos. If you're interested in hearing more about the stuff I do, go ahead and subscribe and take a look at some of the other content I make. For example, last week I put together a Temet Tokens deck that I know that you would really love to see. Go ahead and click to see that video. And if you want to see the next one, go ahead and tune in next Wednesday where I'll have a fresh take on a new commander. Thanks very much, guys. Talk to you later.